Howdy guys, and welcome back to the channel. Yes, I know Howl's Moving Castle is not a new movie, but I had an opportunity to go rewatch it the other night with my girlfriend. AMC has been doing this series where they show old Miyazaki films over the last several months. I believe next month is Spirited Away, and this month it was Howl's Moving Castle, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. I remember watching it back in 2005 with my mom up in Montana, but maybe I've seen it once or twice since then. I didn't remember a whole lot about the plot, and it's one of my girlfriend's favorite movies ever. So I was like, okay, let's go see it. And I just felt compelled to make a video about it because I forgot just how much I love this movie, you guys. It's a truly fantastic animated film. I don't even know where to begin with this movie. We all know why it's great, but I guess I'll go ahead and start with the animation. It's incredible what they accomplished here. I mean, you have obviously Howl's Moving Castle that looks incredible. It's almost a different style of animation than how he drew the characters, or how the animation team drew the characters. You have all of the obvious characters in there looking great in this style of animation. And then something else that I appreciated upon this viewing was the different animation styles for all of the different cities that the moving castle can transport to, I guess, because you have the waste there, but you also have the cityscape areas that look vastly different than one another, sort of sparking that contrast there for the war that's going on in the background. Miyazaki is one of the best filmmakers ever. I'll go ahead and say it. Maybe if you don't know who he is, he's directed absolute classics such as this movie and Spirited Away. He has a new movie coming out this year that I really need to go check out. Apparently it's great according to people that went to TIFF. But this movie was his follow-up to Spirited Away, which was nominated for an Oscar. This movie should have won an Oscar. It lost to Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which I haven't thought about since I was 9 years old. This movie is obviously better than that movie, in my opinion at least. Maybe you disagree. But Miyazaki, he's one of the best directors, and this movie just shows it more and more. Following up Spirited Away with such a different story just shows his versatility as a filmmaker. I mean, I'm glad that we finally got a new movie from him. I thought that he was completely retired after A Wind Rises in 2013, and this movie is just so gripping. Miyazaki wrote it basically as an opposition piece to the Iraq War and our invasion of Iraq. And to me, it's just so impressive how he brought across his themes of anti-war and sort of what it does to people. You know, as we move through the film, we see Howl go darker and darker into the depths of war and what it does to a good person, a good man such as himself. And to me, the film never got overly preachy on that subject. It can be a fine line being an anti-war film and not coming across as preachy. So Miyazaki, obviously being the talented filmmaker that he did, he struck that balance exceptionally well. It never came across the wrong way for me. And to me, like any movie that has strong themes like that, Miyazaki presents his points and leaves it there for the audience. You know, this is how I feel about it. This is how I'm going to portray it with my characters. Take from it what you will. And I also loved the themes that it had about old age and sort of what it does to your psyche, because obviously as a younger person, I don't really think about old age as much as I think about just the day-to-day life. And, you know, you see with the character of Sophie becoming an old lady, those scenes of her out by the lake where she's just talking about how she enjoys watching the lake now, and how as an old person, you sort of have that freedom of, well, now I can just kind of enjoy the, you know, small things in life, such as just sitting out by a lake. I think those themes are extremely touching, and I love just also the theme of a found family, because you have this collection of characters. You have Turnip Head in there, you have a wizard, you have a young boy, a wicked witch, and then a young girl turned into an old lady, as well as a dog. But you have this weird group of characters that somehow find solace with one another. And as we leave the film, it's just this cute little family that you want to spend more time with. But I want to talk about the characters now. Howl is an exceptionally well-written character here. He's a wizard that, sort of how I said before, he starts getting darker and darker into the depths of war and what he feels like he must do as we progress through the movie. And I thought Christian Bale's dub performance as him was really great. It was actually funny. He has a scene in the movie where he kind of does a Batman voice, and now as an adult, I recognize it. As a kid, I didn't so much, and my girlfriend at the end of the movie was like, okay, I thought that was Batman. But Howl is a great character. Sophie is an even better written character. Because, you know, you expect the movie, it's called Howl's Moving Castle, you expect the main character to be Howl, but really Sophie's the main character of this film. You really do follow her progression as a young woman, becoming a little bit more liberated, becoming more comfortable with herself, you know, because obviously the main plot point of this movie is she is a young girl turned into an old lady. So she's lost her youth, she's lost the prime years of her life, and now she has to try to kind of get the spell reversed, but she can't actually say what it is. So Howl can't do anything for her. But we really do follow her progression as the main character in this film, becoming more sure of herself and her abilities. We see her push herself to lengths that she never had to before. I mean, the girl's betrayed by her own mother in the movie. Spoilers, by the way, for a 20-year-old film. But we see her like move through tough times. We see her have to fly a mechanism back to the castle, something that she's never done before and she's uncomfortable with, but Howl has faith in her and she realizes that she's capable of much more than she thought she was. But at the end of the day, this movie is more pleasant than I remembered it being. I remember the dark imagery at times from whenever I was a kid. But this movie, it sort of was like a Tarantino film in that we have these characters, these great characters, we have the general plot points, but for the most part, you watch the film to watch the characters interact with each other. It's sort of like a hangout movie, but in Miyazaki's world, or at least that's kind of how I interpreted the movie. And it's just an extremely pleasant watch. It has a great culmination, or a great ending, I guess. Even though I felt like the last minute and a half was kind of rushed with what they do with Turnip Head, where I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. That would be like my only gripe with the movie, where the movie just like decided to end, and I was sitting there like, oh, okay, I guess the movie's over. But this movie is extremely pleasant, which you wouldn't expect with such deep themes such as anti-war. But you guys, Howl's Moving Castle is Howl's Moving Castle. There's a reason why people still talk and watch it today. There's a reason why AMC is still playing it at its theaters. It's an excellent film, so if you haven't watched it, please treat yourself and watch this film. Even if you're someone that doesn't particularly like Japanese animation, I have found that everyone loves this movie that I've ever shown it to, so please help yourself to a watch. That's everything that I have to say about Howl's Moving Castle today. What are your thoughts about the film? Is it one of your favorites? Do you maybe not like it? Leave me a comment down below, and make sure you subscribe if you aren't already and you enjoyed this video and you want more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.